ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So welcome all the participants. We have heard in the past about IQ, intelligence quotient. We have heard about EQ, emotional quotient. I have also heard about SQ, social quotient. And now in current times, there is a new term which has come about, which is called adversity quotient. So needless to say, the indication is that as time is going, life is becoming more and more tougher. Unpredictable, unforeseen situations will surely come into our life. And the question is, to be successful in this world, do we have that necessary power, the necessary willpower to fight against all the unforeseen, unexpected situations and go ahead? And because of this, they're asking us that we need to increase our adversity quotient. So we'll begin with a small story. This is the story of a believer in God. And this person was facing a tough situation in his life. So every day before sleeping, he would pray to God, please help me, please help me. One day God appeared in front of him. Yes, he told him that I need a lot of strength. Life is very, very tough for me. And God said, very simple. Do you see that big stone outside your home? Just outside his home, there was a huge stone. And God told him, you should push this stone every day, at least for 2 hours. And maybe in another 15 days or so, everything will be solved. So this person would go to the stone and try to push it. And the stone would not move. The stone was too huge. This went on for 15 days. The stone did not move. He tried for another 15 days. The stone still did not move. And this person was getting frustrated because he thought when God says something, it has to come true. The stone has to move. And so at the end of the month, after 15 days extra, he finally again sat back and prayed to God. And God appeared in front of him. And he said, you told me to push the stone, but the stone did not move. And God started laughing. And he said, why are you laughing? Are you laughing on me? Are you laughing on a miserable situation? And God said, can you do one thing? You have your full shirt and you have your sleeves. Can you lower those sleeves? Can you show me your hand, how it goes? And he did not understand much, but still he didn't want to argue. So he showed his hand to God. And God said, do you see any difference in your hands? And first time he had taken off his sleeves and he looked at his muscles. So because of this endeavor to push the rock, actually he had developed amazing muscles. And it seemed his whole chest, his shoulders, his collars, everything had grown because of that massive endeavor in trying to push the stone. And he said, do you see that you have become stronger? And the man said, yes, but the stone didn't move. And God said, did I mention that the stone will move? And this person thought for a while and he said, no, you were actually saying that I should go and push the stone every day, but you never ever mentioned that the stone was going to move. And God said, that's my point. My point was, you were trying to get help for solving so many problems of this world, but I wanted you to make strong. So there is a saying that I asked God for help and God sent me a few people in my life whom I needed to help. I asked God for some money and God sent me a few beggars who were needing money. So there are many such sentences like this, but all these sentences point to the fact that it is never that we don't have anything in our hands. We may not have something that we desire, but all of us have sufficient money, sufficient health, sufficient wealth, sufficient situation in our life that we can be thankful to God. And of course, there is more to achieve. But many times, neglecting what is there in our plate, our eyes are on the plates of others, and we think we are missing out. So, whenever we ask to God for help, God may not give us some magic that can revolutionize our life, but God will give us some test in our life by which we can actually grow in our strength. So on the screen is basically Lord Ramchandra, Lakshman, and Vibhishan along with his 4 followers when Vibhishan was kicked out of Lanka by Ravan. So all his life, Vibhishan has been a genuine well-wisher of his brother Ravan, and he's been trying to convince Ravan that why are you doing this adharmic activities? You just go anywhere and pick up anybody's wife, daughter, sister, just because you're attracted to them. But this time, what you did is seriously wrong. This time, you have taken the wife of Lord Ramchandra, and this is not allowed. This is not proper thing. And what did he get in return? Ravan threw his own brother out of Lanka. And now Vibhishan, he has been kicked out of his own home. He has been kicked out of his own family, his own culture, all the Rakshasas. And now he is thinking, where should I go? Because as of now, there is no guarantee that Lord Ramchandra will accept him. Maybe Lord Ramchandra will say, finally, you are the brother of Ravan. Why should I admit you? Why should I accept you? So this is Vibhishan, that his whole life he was a genuine well-wisher. And so many times his adherence to dharma was questioned, but he still went on. And at the end was the biggest question. At the end was the biggest insecurity for him. Where will Lord Ramchandra accept me? But Vibhishan had so much faith in God that even though God gave him so many difficulties in his life for following the right path, Vibhishan went through all that. He developed a lot of spiritual muscles. And based on his spiritual muscles, finally, when he was kicked out of Lanka, he came and surrendered to Lord Ramchandra. And all of us know this story of how Lord Ramchandra accepted not only Vibhishan, but the 4 servants of Vibhishan. So if you see behind Vibhishan, there are 4 people who had nothing to do with Lord Ramchandra, but they are just followers of Vibhishan. And Lord Ramchandra not only gave Sharanagati to Vibhishan, but he also gave to them. So many times in our life, we feel, I can't do it. But we have to take a pair of scissors and we have to cut that part and we have to remind ourselves, I can do it. So lesson number 1 for all of us is to win wars outside. First, we will have to win wars inside our own hearts. We many times dream of becoming very successful, very rich, very socially influential, and so on. But how many of us have seen that anybody who has reached the top has reached it just by chance? If you talk to any successful person, he may be a politician, he may be a philosopher, he may be an engineer, doctor, whatever. But all of them had their own wars, fighting for the real principles, the true principles in their own hearts. And after winning many wars inside their hearts, finally they could win the war outside. Usually we are impressed by photos similar to this. Which photo? This photo. You see here a person who's climbed to the top of a mountain, and from the top of a mountain, he's looking at so many mountains in front of him and he's saying, yes, I did it. And this is the perfect moment captured on camera. And all of us, we can picture ourselves in the picture and we can think, oh, this is me. And maybe I'm on top of society, or everyone respects me. Maybe I'm the head of such and such organization. In this way, we all have our own pictures like this. But there are many important things that have to happen in this person's life before this happens. So I'll allow people to contribute here. Can any one of you name a few things that have to happen before this person reaches the top of a cliff and he's saying, yes, I reached, I am successful? Can anyone name a few things that have to happen before this photo? Yeah, I'm waiting for any one of you to speak.
Some like or some practice to do that thing.
Yeah, some practice. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, anybody else wants to speak something? Something that has to happen before you reach the top.
Hello.
Yeah,
One needs to climb the mountain before reaching to
one
the
needs to
top.
climb, one needs practice. Yes, a lot of hard work is required. Very good. Thank you so much. Anybody else wants to contribute?
Haribol, Haribol.
Yeah.
You want devotion, sir, devotion to your work.
Yeah.
Haribol.
Can I use the word dedication?
Determination, hard work, sincerity.
Right. Determination, hard work. Thank you. Okay,
Total
we'll
all
go ahead.
efforts. Total all efforts.
True, 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 true. So all the answers that have been contributed, they are very nice when they are giving
Devotion,
us
devotion.
different, yeah, devotion, dedication. Now, I'm also proposing something, like all of you propose something, that here, actually, when you climb a mountain, it's not like, there is a road that is there and there are very nice marks there, mm, or there are nice signs there. Take a left turn from here and go ahead for 5 meters and all that. Actually, mountain climbing is going into uncharted territory. You don't know where to climb, where to stop, where to take a left turn, where to right turn. There are no signs there. It actually needs one person at least to be expert, to be with you. And he says, no, the way to go on the right side is right now to take a turn on the left side and then go around the mountain and then you go to the right side. Probably if you go directly to the right side, seeing that your destination is on the right side, you may not even reach there because there could be a very steep cliff there, which is impossible to climb. So my point was, it also requires, in addition to your own hard work, in your own devotion, your own dedication, some practice, it also needs some guidance. So especially steeper the mountain, greater is our dependence on those who are ahead of us. Probably if the mountain is not very steep, it is a very gradual mountain, it climbs very slowly, you can just go on your own. What if the mountain is like this? For you to catch hold of a rope, at least there has to be somebody above you who will throw you the rope, and then you catch onto that rope, and then with your own dedication and with your own hard work and with your own practice, you climb. But at least there has to be a few experienced people with you. And when there is a group of everyone being experienced, it actually becomes very, very difficult to climb mountains. So it could be a snow-capped mountain where everything just looks white, white, and white, and you don't know where to go. And sometimes in the snow-filled mountains, there are gaps in between. So on top, there is a layer of ice, and when you step on it, you can actually fall down into a major crevice. So that also requires a lot of experience from somebody who has done it before. If all of you in your group are first timers, it's going to be extremely risky. The same thing applies in a desert area. In desert area also, sometimes there are these gaps in between and there is sand on top and you can fall in. So on the screen, there is a picture of a caravan. In Hindi, it's called a karava. So what does the second camel need to do? You can see in the picture, the first camel has a rope from its nose in the hands of the person who's leading the caravan. The second camel has a rope from his nose connected to the first camel. And the third camel has a rope connected to its nose to the second camel. So if that person, the first person keeps on walking, automatically the first camel, the second camel, and third camel will keep on walking. Because just like on a snowy mountain, in a desert also there are no arrows. How long to go? Which direction to go? It all looks the same. It is just sand, sand, and sand everywhere. The same thing also applies to a huge ocean or a sea. And if you are on a small boat, and as far as the eyes can see to the horizon, in all the directions on your side, it's just water, water, and water. If you don't have any help from anybody else, you are basically lost. So at least you need a compass, or at least you need a map, that which direction are you going. And just by looking at the northern direction, maybe you can smartly understand. The point is, on land, there are many arrow marks and there are many milestones. From Bombay to Pune is 173 kilometers. So when you cover 50 kilometers, there is a milestone which says only 123 kilometers left, only 100 more kilometers left, only 50 more kilometers left, and so on. But in the sea, there are no milestones. In the air, there are no milestones. On the snow, there are no milestones. And especially in a desert, there is no milestone. So imagine you're staying in a city where it snowed and everywhere there is snow and you don't understand where to go because everywhere it looks the same. You don't know where the road is. You don't know where the footpath is. So especially in these times, when everything looks very confusing, what helps is to follow the footsteps of somebody who has walked ahead of you. This is the easiest way to reach success when it comes to unfamiliar territory. From Baramati to Pune, from Baramati to Solapur, it's very easy because you have done that journey many times. But what if you're traveling from Mount Abu to Shimla? This is the first time you're traveling. Can you tell me from Mount Abu to Shimla, if you're traveling by a car and this is your first journey, how many times you will stop your car and ask somebody on the street, "Arey, Shimla जाने का रास्ता यही है ना? यही है ना? यही है ना?" So many times we'll ask, you know why? Because basically we don't want to get lost. Similarly, my dear friends, in our life also, sometimes, on a mountain, there's all grass everywhere and you don't understand. But in between that grass, some people have walked. ज्याला आपण मराठीमध्ये कधी म्हणतो पायवाट. So a simple path in between that forest can help us reach our destination. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So many times there are these elderly, young men who take a lot of pleasure in having these mountain rides on a bicycle. And these bicycles are also specially made for traveling on a mountain ride. But if this person in his or her childhood has not practiced on a tiny bicycle, on a small bicycle, it is just impossible for him to reach a stage where he can go on a mountain ride on that tough bike. So if you have not sufficiently practiced when you are a small young child on a small bicycle, it will be extremely difficult for you to go on a mountain ride on a very special bicycle. So in our life, if we had a teacher, if we had somebody, it could be our father, it could be our mother, it could be our elder brother, it could be our elder sister. If we had somebody like that in our life, then that person, if you see in the photographs on the screen, basically the child who is learning is sitting on a bike and it is very easy for him to pedal and go ahead. What about the person who's teaching him to bicycle? That person has a tough time because he has to speak, he has to save the child from falling, and many times the person who's teaching has to run with this small child on the bicycle. So how difficult it is for a teacher to teach somebody. But if the teacher is there, then it is possible that the child will learn. I remember my own time when I first got a bicycle, and I never understood that motion will give me balance. I always tried to be still, and as soon as you keep still on a bicycle, you fall. So thousands of times I must have fallen down, and my father used to tell me, first start pedaling, first get speed. Unless you get speed, you cannot stand. The bicycle will not stand. If you don't have speed, it will fall down. So I got hurt so many times, but then I understood my father had so much patience that he kept on teaching me, he kept on teaching me, he kept on teaching me. And just because my father spent so much time on me, I was able to actually go ahead. And today, I have come to a situation where we can actually, go ahead in life, and we can be one of those expert bicycle riders. So there is a reminder from Dr. Aparna Kate to me that today is Father's Day. And today is a good day to remember how in our lives also, our fathers, they spent a lot of time for us and they actually gave us a lot of training and a lot of patience they followed, because of which we are expert. So lesson number 2 for us is, success does not come at the end of a single big test. It comes after many short tests, one after the other. So we feel success, if it is going to come to me at the age of 35, for example, from my childhood till the age of 35, there will be no exams. There will be no tests. And one big, huge test will come in my life at the age of 35. And then I pass that test and then I become a huge celebrity. But As I mentioned, unless there is a sincere teacher in our life who's giving us time, who's having patience to teach us, it won't be possible for us to pass those small tests. So when you were a small child at the age of 4 or 5, you got a small bicycle. Then you became expert in that bicycle. Then you got a little bigger bicycle. Then all the skills that you had for the smaller bicycle, they were useful, but then you needed more skills to ride the bigger bicycle. Then when you went to a college, probably you had a motorcycle or a scooter. So now it has more power and it has more responsibility. And now you need a license. For a bicycle, you don't need a license. So if you see in your life, everything that you are doing right now did not happen in one single turn of events. It all added up slowly. So if we are not ready to undergo small tests in our life, sometimes by our father, sometimes by our mother, sometimes by relatives, sometimes by our friends. Our friends also will test us. Are we really faithful to our friends? And those tests will not come announced. They will come unannounced. I remember one of our friends, his friend, he's not a devotee. He lost so much of his money in the stock market. And after losing so much money in the stock market, he was feeling really morose. And one of my friends, who is a devotee, he asked me if I could talk to him, I could help him out. And then we had a discussion in which I explained to him how gambling, how betting your money is very risky and it is always exposed to so much risks. So when somebody is trying to help us, when one of our friends is trying to help us, will we see his help as help or will we see his help as interference? If somebody is going out of his way to help us, but sometimes we'll see it as interference. So there will be tests in our life in the form of different ways, different events, sometimes our relatives, sometimes by friends, sometimes by somebody unknown also. And if we pass through all those tests, then we get final success. So this is something very important for us to understand. So on the screen right now is a rocket launch. And we keep on hearing about these rocket launches to put satellites in the sky. So Boeing 747 is the biggest airplane right now in the world. It has a capacity of 700 passengers. It's a huge plane. And what is the thrust that is there in a standard rocket? It is 2.5 times the energy of a Boeing 747. Okay. Now this kind of a rocket sometimes has 5 engines, rocket boosters. And one of those engines is actually the weight 1/7 of an electric locomotive. The trains that run, the weight of this rocket engine is 1/7 the weight of an electric locomotive, but it gives the power output of 40 locomotives. In this way, at a single moment, there is just huge amount of power that is given to the rocket, and only then it can lift off and it can escape the gravitational pull of Earth. All the objects are going down and the rocket has to escape the gravitational pull. So it is mentioned, these are all figures from NASA website. At liftoff, a typical rocket consumes 11,000 pounds of fuel per second. This is basically 2 million times the rate at which fuel is burnt in an average family car. So any one of you, if you have a Fiat, many cars right now, Vento, or you have a car like Maruti Dzire, all these cars, 2 million times the fuel that is burnt in a typical rocket. And the most interesting thing is, whatever fuel is being carried in that rocket to reach high up in the sky, half the fuel is burnt in first 16 seconds of the rocket's flight. So my dear friends, it's very important to note, the journey up there takes something like 18 or 20 minutes, something like that. And in that 18 or 20 minutes till the rocket reaches the final destination up in the sky, first 16 seconds, 50% of the fuel is burnt. You know why? Because the gravitational pull is pulling down. And the rocket needs to have a lot of energy to escape the gravitational pull. And after a certain time, after the first 16 seconds, when it escapes the gravitational pull, after that, the journey is super smooth. So it's very interesting how in our life also, One lesson that we can learn is the beginning is always going to be very tough and later it becomes easy. So all of you are successful medicos in Baramati, and I'm sure when you started your practice in Baramati, it was not very easy. The first 5 years of any doctor's practice is basically trying to establish contacts. People should know you, make friendships with other doctors for referrals, and so on. And slowly people come to know you, and if you are really concerned about the patients, then the patients refer to their relatives, and slowly that's how you become a successful doctor. And the first few years of a doctor's practice are really, really very difficult. The first few years of your education are very difficult. MBBS is difficult, post-graduation is difficult. So it basically, from the beginning of MBBS, you can count at least 10 or 15 years of struggle for a doctor. And after that, slowly when things start settling down, then you can decide your OPD timings and all that. But the first 5 years, you're basically on call for all 24 hours. And all of you can understand the slide on the screen. The beginning is always tough and later it becomes easy. So in the beginning days, if we are impatient, if we do not have patience, if we do not have enthusiasm, if we are not strong with our decisions, then none of us will be successful in life. Always remember the rocket example. When you want to enter into a river for swimming, initially it's very difficult. Why? Because as soon as you take your first step into the river, you are basically scared. The river is flowing and you think, what if I just get swept away? But after you enter the river, then you understand the current is not so much near the shores. The current of the river is a lot in the middle of the river. If you're in the safe distance near the shore, then the current of the river does not hurt you much and things can go on. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to ask you a question and all of you can respond. The question for you is, what is the cost of water? Yes, any answers from any one of you?
I think it's a priceless, sir.
Right. So what if, you want to have drinking water right now? Do you have to pay any money for it?
No, right now we do not have to pay. But in Rajasthan, in the desert, we have to pay a lot for the drinking money.
Right. So if you're traveling from here to Rajasthan and it's maybe a 2-day drive and you reach the border of Rajasthan and all your can of water that you're carrying in your car is already exhausted. And there you ask in some shop, can you give me water? What will he say? Will he give it to you for free?
No, we'll have to pay for it.
So it's very interesting that the cost of water depends on the situation in which you are asking for water. In Baramati, at your home, it is free. In a restaurant in Baramati, if you order a Bisleri bottle, it will cost you some money. And when you go to places where there is a shortage of water, you will have to pay a lot of water. What I'm saying is, the commodity or the substance may be the same, but it depends to a large extent on the situation. What if you are on top of a hill station? On top of a hill station, there are no lakes, there is no river, and all the water that comes by rain usually flows down because it's at a height. So usually nothing grows on a hill station and everything has to be brought. So when you go to a hill station, everything is very costly, including water. Yes. I'm going to ask you a question. What is the cost of no higher education? What if we stop at graduation because of certain family conditions, because of certain financial conditions, whatever, there are different responsibilities. Sometimes if you're the eldest in family, then you have to take care of somebody who are your siblings, your sisters, your brothers, and you cannot go for higher education. Can any one of you tell me what is the cost of no higher education?
It could be average, sir. One can afford it easily.
Right. But later what happens is, after 10 years, you find out, just because I don't have a particular specialization, and a new boy who has that specialization, he's MD, he's MS, and he sets up a practice, his rate of progress is very high. It's very fast. Why? Because he has some higher education. It depends, if you're in an urban setting, it matters a lot if you have so many degrees. If you're in a semi-urban, semi-rural area, then even a GP, a general physician, also can earn sufficient money. But the way the world is going, every small town, every small village, basically demands an MD or an MS. So I know small villages where there is a GP who's MBBS and there is another person who's also set up his own clinic, but he is an MD, so he writes MD. And people for ordinary diseases also, they prefer going to the MD and they don't go to the MBBS person, although he is more suitable for it. So sometimes it hurts. Now I'm going to ask you a question. What is the cost of getting success in life too early? Could be there a cost for getting success too early in life? What if somebody becomes a celebrity at the age of 15? 15 साल की उम्र में you become a celebrity. What could be the cost?
If sir one gets or gains the one becomes famous easily and gains the popularity easily, there are the chances that he or she may become aloof. And the recent example is of Sushant Singh Rajput, that he became aloof and became detached. He never shared his thoughts, and even in spite of having lot of success and money and lot of property with him, he did a very bad thing. He just quitted the life, which should not happen with anybody. I think this is the bad side of that, but it could happen that early success is also dangerous, and also it could be also good for anybody, but there are
Right.
chances.
Yeah. Sometimes what I've seen is if somebody becomes very famous, he gives up education. You know, I have seen people, they don't even complete their education, minimum education. And that success hardly lasts for some years. So after 5 or 10 years, there is another celebrity who comes. And this original celebrity now does not have any education also and does not have celebrity status also. Also, you know, early success, you basically get carried away by that success and you stop caring for people in your life who always cared for you. We always have people around us who cared for us, but when you get too much success very early in life, you don't realize who in your life paid a big price for you, who in your life sacrificed many comforts for you, and you become ignorant and you're in your own world and you become insensitive, basically. So everything has a cost. Always remember this. There is no decision in life which does not have a cost. If you want success, there is a cost of losing out to people. If you want people in your life, you will have to pay a cost for giving up some success. Every decision you make in life will have a cost. So some images at award functions I have gotten from the internet, which I'm going to show to you on the screen. So these are some film stars and they got some awards related to films. And you know, they're basically overwhelmed. Look at the look on their face. You know, that idol that they have, that prize that they have in their hands, they're basically not able to control their emotions. And they say, yes, we got it. And here are two film stars who are also saying, yes, just the look of happiness on their faces, just speaking everything. I don't have to speak much. And look at these two film stars. They're just so happy. Nobody has a bigger smile than these film stars when they win these awards. So again, I have these three film stars who are very contemporary film stars. I'll again, you know, go through these slides very quickly. Yes, all these are winners at film awards. Can you please tell me what must be the average age of these people?
22 to 25.
Okay, good, good. Anybody else?
30.
Okay, good. So roughly, you know, their average age is 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, somewhere around this thing. Now I'll ask you a question, all of you are successful medicos. How many people knew you when you were 34? No answer?
Some thousands.
1,000 people knew you when you were 34. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, no problem. Out of the people who knew you, how many were following you? You know, every word you say, they follow it.
None.
None? Okay.
Follow me now.
What is that? Okay. Okay. So
At the age
one
of 50. At the age
Yeah,
of 50 also nobody is following.
good, good, good. I'm with you. Nobody follows me also. So the point here is, the person who left us all last week, he ended his life. His age is 34, and at the age of 34, on Facebook, he has 1.8 million followers. And there's another software called Instagram. On Instagram, all the celebrities, they post their photographs and they post their videos. On Instagram, he has 9.8 million followers. So at the age of 34, some of you who are very successful, you are saying, maybe 5 people know me or 5 people follow me and maybe some people know me. 9.8 million. 9.8 million is 98 lakh people following you. Every time you put a photograph, they look at your photograph. Every time you speak some words, they say, very good, amazing, very nice. So my question is, when somebody who is at the age of 34, all of you have been, and me and myself have been through age 34. If I remember less than 50, my friends and people who knew me when I was 34, maybe less than 50, and followers none. Now think about it. Can you tell me somebody in whom you feel, yes, outside the entertainment industry, outside the film industry, maybe some good politician, maybe some industrialist who's really an emblem of success? You can tell me that he's successful. Can you tell me a few names outside the entertainment industry?
Our Prime
Ratanji Tata.
Minister.
Ratan Tata. Okay. Now, what must be the age of Ratan Tata?
70 plus.
Something like that. Is it not? He has all white hair. Yeah. So think about it. When you talk about famous people outside the entertainment industry, the minimum age is 60, 65, 70. Ratan Tata, Azim Premji, Infosys founder Narayan Murthy, all of them are 50 plus and 55 plus. So any other industry other than the entertainment industry, unless you reach a certain maturity in your own heart, unless you have faced life, unless you have gone through the difficulties, unless you have learned properly from some teacher, and you have actually faced internal wars, internal struggles in your life, actually success does not come to you very easily. And this is something that separates the entertainment industry from all other industries. So today, the country is facing very interesting times, that the industry which was hyped for so many years is slowly crumbling down. And one profession which was always neglected by our country people is very much being praised in the last few days. Can you tell me which profession? Last few days, everyone is praising them.
Nursing.
The army people, yes, on the border between India and China, 20 soldiers lost their lives protecting our country, and now every Indian is praising them. So this is the nature of the world. The nature of the world is that real heroes who are facing death every moment, and they had to actually fight to protect people like you and me staying in Bombay and Baramati properly, they are never praised unless they shed their blood. जब तक सिपाही के शरीर से खून नहीं निकलेगा, तब तक उसकी कोई बढ़ाई नहीं करेगा. And on the other hand, there are these young boys and young girls whose average age is 27, 28, and they just dance in a nice way. They have a good haircut and they have good teeth and they can smile nicely, and they are called heroes. Who is the real hero? A hero is somebody who is ready to lay down his life for the country, or a hero is somebody who cannot face the challenges of his life and he has received success too early just because of having a beautiful face and a beautiful hairstyle and beautiful teeth. So today I received a message which said, from today onwards, I am going to call the heroes of the entertainment industry entertainers. And I'm going to call people in the army who are the real heroes as heroes. I'm not going to interchange these terms. So lesson 4 for all of us is, it is very easy to accept recognition. जब लोग हमारी बढ़ाई करते हैं, उसको स्वीकार करना बहुत आसान है, but it is very tough to accept the effects of recognition. When people start recognizing you, they demand performance from you. You have to match up to people's expectations. And that's why it's easy to become a celebrity. But to live like a celebrity, it is extremely stressful and it is extremely difficult. And that's why sometimes the most famous people in the entertainment industry basically are deep loners in their heart. And sometimes they take their own lives. Now, all of us know about iPhone, iPad, and all this. So why are Apple products so much in demand? On the screen, there is a simple transparent flower pot, and in that there is a simple leaf. Does it look beautiful?
Yeah.
It looks beautiful, yes. And it could be a very nice china vase with a lot of painting on it. It would also look beautiful. This also looks beautiful. So there is a sentence by Leonardo da Vinci. He says, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Actually, the greatest sophistication is simplicity. And this line was read by Apple founder Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs, he really understood that the most difficult thing is to present simplicity. And the most easiest thing in life is to be complex. So what he did was, he came up with the first concept that why should you have to type all commands on a computer? Actually, I should present a simple graphical user interface to the users. So what you see on the screen is, you can touch anywhere and you can use your mouse to do. This is called GUI, graphical user interface, which makes computers very simple. So in 1985, Steve Jobs said, we will not allow people to type their commands. Many years back, you had to type your commands. But Steve Jobs, he presented computers in a very simple way, and because of which computers actually became very popular. So graphical user interface was first invented by Apple. After that, one by one, Steve Jobs came up with different concepts. The first revolutionary concept that he launched was the Apple iPhone. So even today, I remember in 2007, what we today call as a smartphone came into being. Before that, phones were used for talking to people. And when Steve Jobs in 2007 launched the iPhone, the concept of a phone changed. Phones became used for recording audio, for a timer, for an alarm clock, for a torch, for email, for booking your flights, for knowing the weather in America, and everything and anything other than talking with somebody on an audio call. Why? Because it was just too simple to use. After that, some years, he presented something called as an iPod, which was a very simple way to listen to your favorite music. And after that, he presented the MacBook, which is one of the most powerful computers, but very simple to use. So what he basically did was, he came up with different products. And the advantage of all these products was, all these products are very beautiful to look at. They're very easy to use. They're very lightweight products. They're basically cord free or wire free. And all these Apple products, they join or connect to each other very easily. So if you have one Apple product, you are tempted to buy another Apple product because they are very easily connected. So to create this simplicity using technology takes the greatest sophistication. What we feel, you take your cell phone and you want to magnify a picture, you just move your fingers like this and the magnifies. There's a lot of hardware and there's a lot of software coding that goes on behind for us to receive that simplicity. So lesson number 4 for us is, in life, to be complex is the greatest easy thing today. Don't talk to anybody. Don't talk nicely to anybody. Don't cooperate with anybody is the easiest thing to do. But actually, to be a simple person is the greatest complexity today. If you want to be a simple-hearted person, if you want to be a genuine friend of your friends, if you want to be a genuine brother of your brothers, if you want to be a genuine well-wishing sister of your brothers and sisters, believe me, the way the world is going, it's the most difficult and the most complex thing today. So the way the world is, we have to understand, to be simple outside, we'll have to undergo a lot of hard work inside. If we really want to be well-wisher of people outside, we'll have to tolerate a lot of trouble inside. And those people who are not willing to undergo this complexity in the heart inside will be complex outside. मतलब मैं तो simple हूँ. I am what I am transparent. What I like, मैं सबको बोल देता हूँ, ये मुझे अच्छा लगा. और जो मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता वो मैं सीधा बोल देता हूँ, मुझे ये अच्छा नहीं लगा, मुझे अच्छा. What if when you tell people you didn't like something, it hurts people? I don't care for that. I am transparent. मी ना मन मोकळेपणाने बोलतो. मला जे आवडत नाही ते सांगून टाकतो मी सगळ्यांना, मला हे काय आवडलं नाही. अरे तुम्ही मन मोकळेपणाने बोलताय आणि इतरांवर त्याचा काय परिणाम पडतोय. So people, when they want to be sensitive for others, basically they will have to accept a lot of violence in their heart, because they will have to agree to things which they don't believe in. They will have to say no to things that they believe in. You know why? In order to be gentle and kind-hearted and to be genuine well-wisher to people, you will have to accept a lot of complexity in your own heart. So to be simple outside, you'll have to be complex inside. Just like the iPhone. It is simple outside, but it is super complex inside. So this was the point. So if we really want to be genuine people, we will have to have a high adversity quotient in our own hearts. We'll go ahead. So the smallest phone, this is the smallest phone in the world today, which is super small. The biggest advantage, the best chips in the world are the smallest ones. It is said that you can save a lot of money just by making small changes in your lifestyle. So, you know, the government of India tells people, even if you don't require one bulb in your home, switch it off. First thing is you'll save money. Second thing is the country has limited power, and just by the city people switching off unnecessary lights, somewhere in some village, one person can study under a bulb and actually change his or her life. So what seems to you and me as an ordinary thing, एक ट्यूबलाइट बंद नाही केली तर काय फरक पडतो, एक तासासाठी माझ्याकडे पैसे आहेत भरपूर, मी बिल पे करायला तयार आहे तर काय प्रॉब्लेम आहे. It is not as simple as that. Somebody in some village is not having electricity right now, as we have 4 or 5 lights in a single room, and we don't care to switch off those lights. So the point is, when we make small changes in our life, small is the new big. When you make small changes in your life, it has a big impact in our lives. And we have the picture of this small fish. You know, the big fish is trying to eat the small fish. And when the big fish is trying to eat a small fish, all the small fish, they come together and they form a formation of a big fish. And just by all these fishes coming together, this big fish in the center is feeling threatened. He's saying, "Arey, mere piche ye, you know, who's this big fish that has come?" But actually that big fish is just a bunch of small fish come together. In this way, it is many times mentioned, united we stand, divided we fall. So 1,000 small fish, when they come together, they can shake a big fish. It is said that a pack of foxes, a pack of jackals, 10 or 11 jackals can actually hunt a lion. If a lion is all alone in the jungle, sometimes it can happen that 10 or 12 jackals can pounce upon him and can cause a lot of damage to him, unless of course there's another lion that comes and helps. There are videos on BBC how less powerful but in greater strength they can attack somebody who's more powerful but who's all alone. Now this can be seen in negative light, but this can also be seen in a positive light. When we stay together, we'll have to accept a lot of hardships for staying with each other, but together we can cause hardships to somebody who is much more powerful than us and who can cause a lot of damage to us individually. So the lesson for all of us is, in trying to deal with adversities in your life, in trying to deal with difficulties in your life, begin with small changes. Simplify your life. And when you simplify your life, it's easier for you to accept reality. It's easier for you to accept the different lessons that we learned today. I'll just quickly go through the slides. We first saw the story of a believer where God made this person push the rock. He never said that the rock will move, but by pushing the rock, the muscles grew. And Vibhishan also had to undergo a lot of struggles in his life. And from there, we learned the lesson that I can do it. To win wars outside, first we'll have to win many, many wars inside. And then we discussed about how to reach the top of a cliff, it actually is a long journey from ground level, and actually steeper the mountain, greater is our dependence on others. if it is a snow-capped mountain, if it is a desert, if it is the sea, or it is a snow-filled city, or it could be even a mountain. Any non-city place, any non-urban place, we are basically dependent on some other people. So we need somebody to train us in order to drive through the difficult terrain of our life that is inevitably going to come later in our life. And we also saw the example of a father who spent so much hardships in training the child, but the child does not see, the child is focused more on the bicycle ride. The child does not see the father running behind. And we all need to learn from a sincere teacher in our life. Teacher does not mean the school teacher who teaches geography or history. Teacher means who invests in a small child and helps the child grow. So success does not come at the end of a single big test. It comes from many small tests. And then we discussed how there is so much energy being spent in the first 16 seconds of a rocket's flight. And after that, everything is easy. So in the beginning of our career, in the beginning of our life, it is always going to be tough. Later, it becomes easy. We should not compare with those who are successful people. We should compare with those who are new people. And we saw how everything has a cost. And that's why when you get early success and you are all smiling, 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 and everyone is just congratulating you, but there is a success that when some people insult you, you are not trained to handle that success. And sometimes even at the age of 34, when your body is fit, when you have a lot of intelligence, just because of some comments by some people, you feel this is the end of my life and you quit your life. There are so many hopes in life. There are so many possibilities in life. If the entertainment industry does not work for you, you try out any other industry. But basically, just a few people's comments makes you think that this is the end. So it is easy to accept recognition, but it is tough to accept the effects of recognition. Usually when success comes at 50, 55, 60, 65, then these comments don't hurt you. In fact, it makes you more committed to get more and more success. And then we saw how simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. So if you want to be simple outside, then you will have to accept a lot of struggles in your own heart. And if you want to not accept any struggles in your heart, you will cause a lot of struggles in other people's lives. So we gave the example of an iPhone or an iPod or a Mac. It's very simple to use. It's very intuitive, but there's a lot of technology that goes on behind. And that's why Apple products are very easy to use, but they're also very costly. And then we saw that to be complex, it's very easy. But to be simple-hearted is the greatest complexity today. And then we saw small is the new big. आज के ज़माने में जितना आप छोटा कुछ करोगे उतना उसका बड़ा परिणाम होगा. It will have a big impact. And that's why if we want to increase our adversity quotient, let us start by making small changes to our life. So thank you very much. I'll stop here. If somebody has any questions, then you can unmute and ask any questions. Also, if you have any comments about any slide, if you want to add anything, you are also free to add.
Hello.
Yeah.
Namaste, Prabhuji.
Namaste.
As the body naturally gives a flight response to any adverse situations, it is also recommended as a adaptation, because unless and until we adapt to the adverse situations, we cannot prevent from falling sick. Because the first step to prevent falling sick is, I think you should adapt to the all adverse situations you are facing, whether it is at the mental level, whether it is at the physical level, but you should try to adapt it. And that's the, I think, core of your lecture, adversity quotient. To increase it, we have to keep on trying consistently to adapt the situations. That gives us inner strength. Actually, it is given by God, and to conquer the problems and conflicts outside. As soon as we fail to adapt, we fall sick, because prevention is better than cure. So to fall sick is the from preventing us to fall sick. And you told it very nicely. The needs to succeed in life is a determination, dedication, devotion, and the most important is guidance that you give us on the way of spirituality. We are so privileged to have you on the stage as a speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll give you a small example and then we can take others' comments. Imagine a boy in his teens, maybe he's 15 years age, and his weight is 35 kgs. Yeah, so he's a very lean and thin boy. And he sees a movie in which the lead entertainer, the lead star of that movie has a nice body and he's very attractive. And he goes to the gym, the most famous gym in Baramati, and he says, "मुझे भी बहुत बड़ी अच्छी body बनानी है." And the gym person looks at him and says, "See, even to lift the most minimum weight in the gym, it requires certain minimum muscles." So he says, before you begin your training in the gym, please have some minimum health. So if your weight is 35 at the age of 15, it's not good health. It's not good minimum health. And that's why he will say, first just put on some weight. From 35, at least your weight should be some 50, 55. And then from 50, 55, I'll tell you what all training is required. And then you can go ahead with the training, and definitely in due course of time, you can have a very well-built, beautiful body. So my point was that even to face adversities in life, yes, a lot of determination is required, but there is a certain minimum faith in yourself which is required. If you don't have that faith, basically you don't have the confidence to face difficulties. So it is not about the size of difficulties. It could be a small difficulty, it could be a big difficulty. It could be a small test for 10th standard students in school, or it could be a competitive exam like UPSC exam. I have seen students completely confident for the UPSC exam where 13 lakh people apply for that exam on an average. And I have seen people, in first year of MBBS, there is a unit test. Every month there is a regular test. For that, they don't have any confidence. So I then later realized it is not about what test. It is not about a 20 marks test, or it is about a 1200 marks test. It's not a huge test or a small test. Basically, it has to do with the confidence of the person who's appearing for the test. So it is the job of seniors basically to always give confidence to their juniors. You can do it. Don't worry, you can do it. And if we have received this kind of confidence from our seniors, yes, you can do it. Based on that minimum confidence, you can undergo training and you can get determination and you can have confidence, this and that. And a lot of things can happen for you for a major transformation in your life. But initially, if there is nobody who is there to encourage you in your life, if there is nobody who is always giving confidence to you in your life, you do not have the strength to undergo training. You don't have that commitment. You don't have that courage to undergo training by which there can be a transformation in your life. So all the training, all the transformation is waiting for you, but you don't have the courage and you don't have the confidence in yourself to undergo that training. So I feel success is basically a mental game more than a physical game. If we are well situated here, if we are encouraged here, if there is somebody to always support us here, and we know there is somebody in my life who's always supportive, who's always encouraging, I have seen people conquer the most difficult situations in life just based on the confidence that even if I fall down, even if I make a mistake, there is somebody in my life who will always encourage me. So I thought I should just add this small comment to your comment. Thank you so much. Okay, anybody else wants to comment?